Should you make your employer 401k or 403b contributions traditional or Roth? This is one of the most common questions asked by medical professionals when figuring out their financial life, and I'm going to walk you through how to figure it out today. Now, before we get into how to look at this exact question, first let's define what the terms mean. A traditional 401k contribution means you get a tax deduction now, a tax benefit now, and on the back end in retirement, you're going to be taxed at your ordinary income tax bracket then when you pull the money out. A Roth contribution means it's after tax now, no tax benefit now, but on the back end in retirement, the money is tax-free. Now, when you're thinking about investing, remember, neither of those things changes the underlying investment. The account type, whether you label it as a traditional or Roth contribution, changes nothing about the investment itself. It only changes how you want the money to be taxed. If someone were to give you a one-sentence answer to the question, they would probably say something like this: if your income tax bracket is lower now than it will be in the future, choose Roth. If the reverse is true, choose traditional. But it turns out there's actually a lot of layers to that decision beyond just that one single sentence. For one thing, it's beneficial for you to have different tax buckets in retirement to pull money from. This gives you maximal control and allows you to change where you're pulling money from dependent on market performance, your tax bracket, etc. So having some money that's going to be taxed at your ordinary income tax bracket, some money that's going to be taxed at Roth, tax-free with Roth money, right? And then some that's going to be taxed at capital gains rates, like from a brokerage account, is a diversified tax strategy that a lot of people take from a big picture standpoint. But when you zoom into just this one particular account, the 401k or 403b, you can use calculators to help you determine what you should be doing. This is a calculator that I like to use. It is free from Citizens Bank and will just help you visualize what it will look like from an after-tax standpoint at the end of your investing journey, depending on if you have chosen traditional or Roth allocations for your 401k or 403b. You can play with this. I will link it in the description. You input your age, your anticipated retirement age, your total annual contributions. I've put the maximum with checked the box to increase future contributions to the maximum allowed always. Expected rate of return, you can adjust. I've elected for 8% here. And then here's the kicker. Your current tax rate, which is easy to figure out by looking at your federal and state income tax brackets, and your future tax rate. Not so easy to figure out. We'll come back to that in a minute. With the basic numbers that I plugged in here, you can see that on an after-tax basis, the Roth election wins the day by literally $1 million plus in this example, right? And you can go through and change things. Let's say your current tax rate increases to 50% and your future drops to 20%. We're making stuff up. In this instance, Roth still actually wins on an after-tax basis. One of the key pieces that is the needle mover in this calculation that most people miss is whether or not you're investing the tax savings generated. So let's say you invest $1,000 in your 401k on a traditional or pre-tax basis, and you would have been in a 25% tax bracket. Well, you just saved $250 in tax, right? If you actually invest the tax savings in a brokerage account, and then click this button to invest the annual after-tax savings, you can see this becomes the unique scenario where traditional 401k contributions really start to win the day. If you were going to not only maximize the tax savings now, but then reinvest the tax savings to earn yourself future wealth as well, you end up coming ahead in some situations with that scenario. So play with the numbers, see what this looks like for you based on your current tax bracket, your age, and the rest of your assumptions that you believe to be true. You can see the big variable in that calculator that you don't really know is future tax bracket, right? While you may make some assumptions about what you think your income will be in retirement, you don't actually know what tax brackets in the United States will look like as a whole. That's the big wild card. And if you think that tax brackets are at historical highs and are likely to be lower, let me actually show you historical tax brackets. When you look at these numbers, you can very clearly see that tax brackets have historically been quite a bit higher. If you look at the top marginal tax rate in recent years and compare it to the top marginal tax rate in the 50s and 60s, for example, you can see that we are not at historical all-time highs for tax brackets. Now, of course, this totally ignores things like what the standard deduction was at the time and all sorts of stuff like that. But my point is, you don't know what tax brackets will be multiple decades from now, and that is a pretty big wild card in this situation. So once you've played around with a calculator and you've thought deeply about your thoughts on the United States government as a whole and what future tax brackets will be for everyone, you should have a good idea of what you might decide. But don't forget this piece. Those type of calculators, they only show you one little piece of your whole money snapshot. If you're doing something like public service loan forgiveness, where it's really important for you to lower your AGI, lower your monthly payment on your student loan plan, maybe through SAVE or another income-driven repayment plan, and then maximize your tax-free forgiveness, using a traditional contribution would give you downstream benefits outside of what that calculator will show you in the snapshot. It doesn't know, right, that the increased monthly cash flow will allow you to invest more and massively reduce the total amount of money that you spend on your student loans. So don't forget, there's more to the puzzle than just that one piece. I hope this has given you the insight you need to decide between traditional and Roth 401k or 403b contributions. If you want to know the best way to invest, though, from a tax standpoint, the most tax advantage account there is, watch my next video on how to use your health savings account as an investment tool.